Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Double B-Side. I'm Sam Andrews.
And I'm Clark Ivy.
And today we will be introducing you to our brand new podcast where we talk about all things music. So,
we have so many more listeners than underscore I.
than underscores, yes. Yeah, sorry, I haven't made an episode of that in a long time, and I maybe never will, but hopefully that doesn't get abandoned.
No! I was so invested in underscore and never listened to us.
But, so yeah, we're both just, short story, met each other at Woodlands, big into, music of all kinds, too many kinds, really, and, we're just gonna yap about music, different sort of topic each episode. And so I think a good place to start would just be to, Clark, if you could tell us where your music journey began and how it brought you to where we are now.
Yes, sir. My music journey started where every good music journey starts. A living tombstone. And listen, when I was younger, when I was a young lad, when I was a young warthog, I very much did not listen to any music of any substance. It was mostly video game soundtracks. And,
oh gosh.
the songs about video games. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Do you know that realm? Like the Old Hour Machine by DA Games or some
like
crap like
CG5 sort of stuff. Or is that what you're
CG5? CG5 was big there. You can obviously tell I'm not looking up a lot because I'm not very proud of that past. I don't know what... This is a weird way to get into actual music. I think... So online, I was doing something on a computer one day, and there was a video for, the remix albums on YouTube and stuff like that, and one of them was called Thriller Access Memories, and I was like, what the doohickey is that? It was a mixture between... popular indie artist Michael Jackson's Thriller and Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, where essentially they just mix the songs together. So I think the opening track to that was Wanna Be Starting Something, those vocals put over Game of Love. Not Game of Love. Give Life Back to Music. So both the starters on that album on top of each other, and I thought it was heat. I thought it was so good. I bumped that thing all the time, and I feel like I got sick of it, but I bumped it. And then one day, I actually, listened to the actual Random Access Memories album. And I remember just being blown away by it. Because I'd never really indulged in that kind of thing before. And I'll tell you the specific line that stuck with me. Remember? I was in math class. Fateful day in math class. And I listened to the song Touch featuring Paul Williams. And I was following along. It's a long song, and it's winding, and it goes all these certain ways. But at the very end, he says, touch, sweet touch, you've given me too much to feel. You've almost convinced me I'm real. I don't know what it did, but that line in particular, I remember doing work in class with my headphones on, but when that line happened, I was just kind of like... That made me feel something. That's what I'm trying to say. I just started getting interested in that. Later, I learned about Gorillaz, which is a great transition point from rap music to good music, because they're like the wackadoo band that does whatever they want to. I started learning about them. I listened to all their stuff, which is a great discography that Sam should finish. And
hey, I've got two albums left, and technically. There's also Demon Days Live at the Manchester Opera House.
Yeah. But I've been meaning to get to Demon Days Live. I've just never it just kind of looks like Demon Days, so I'm like, okay, there's just going to be a crowd in the back. But anyways, I finished that, and then I just started expanding and stuff, and kind of learned that, hey, there's a lot of music out there past the songs about Friday Night Funkin' or something, I don't know, but... And I just started listening to everything. And around that time, I learned who Fantano was and Brad Taste in Music, all these people who review music. You know, they kind of, a lot of their favorite albums ended up becoming my favorite albums because I learned about them from them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned about Rate Your Music and all that stuff. And yeah, now I listen to like 5 albums a day because I'm a dork. And by artists I bet you've never heard of before. Who is Black Sabbath?
Who's Black Sabbath?
Anyways, later on, it was my birthday, and my friend Sam was like, "Hey, man," because he was on Letterboxd too. He's like, "Hey, man, I just found the Letterboxd for music, and it was called Music Board." And so me, him, and my friend Jaron all downloaded it.
This is a different Sam.
What?
This is a different Sam, right?
This is different. I have too many friends named Sam.
Okay, just
Like,
wanted to make
you
it
two
clear.
are not the
I
only
come
ones.
into the
This is
picture.
not-
I come
Okay,
into
his
the
name
picture
is-
much later.
We're gonna call him Samuel. This is
Sure.
Samuel. Let's first and middle names. Samuel Wayne. Samuel Wayne introduces me, and he put some stuff on there like, I don't know. He rates like the Prom soundtrack, which is like. He also did that and like the We Are Young song. He rated that, and that's like the only 2 things he's ever rated out there. My friend Jaron is on it, and he's rated some stuff. He's not as avid as a listener as me, and I'm still doing it to this day. I'm looking at my account right now. I got about 1,700 reviews, so I've been really at it. If you're ever curious, Sam, about my profile picture, that is Samuel, and the picture. That's why you see every time I change my profile picture, it's him.
It's just a different photo of him.
It's just a different photo of him. In fact, that was the fun thing that we did. Is that if you also go to the bottom of my followers, because they're at the bottom, the other ones are called Jerry Berry and Nate Roos. And we basically just took pictures of each other and made it our profile picture. So Jerry Berry is a picture of me. Nate Roos, which is Samuel, is just a picture of Jaron. And then I have the picture of Samuel. So that's what I've always just used.
Interesting. I have like probably a 3 or 4 year old photo at this point of me wearing my friend's glasses. Because I said, I act and talk enough like a nerd already. If I just put some glasses on, I've got the whole whole fit. And I was absolutely right. I love the photo, and I use it even now.
Yeah. I've always meant to ask what that was, because the amount of times I have to see that every day, because I check his account multiple times a day to see if he actually listens to stuff. And it's that same video, but now it's got that stupid laser border thing that pixelates it and out. Because my boy here is a pro. Mm-hmm. Look at that.
A moderator, actually.
Good for bro.
A moderator of the site. I'm giving back to the music board community by...
Like the opening to Random Access Memories. Give life back to music.
Give life back to music. Of course. It's funny, you said, like, what really got you into music was... and I'll get further into this later on, but like something we have in common is like a favorite album, or one of our favorite albums of all time is like kind of the album that got us into everything. For me, that was Lateralis.
That's an awesome album to get into music with.
That's when I realized I was like, whoa, what is this crazy thing that only Tool must be doing, where one song flows into another? What is this? It's almost like
legendary.
Yeah, it's almost like the songs, like the album is greater than the sum of its parts. And then I came to realize that that's like what every album is supposed to be, or should be at least. So yeah, then you and I meet at Woodlands. And my story, of course, starts quite a bit before then. That was really I guess you could say the first stuff I would listen to would be the stuff my siblings and my dad had on. So that was a lot of Foo Fighters, and it was a lot of AJR.
That might be a little worse.
Which, we may have a few disagreements on.
That could be an episode us discussing the quality of AJR.
But we can invite Will and Katie on for that one. But
ooh, I'm
hot debate. And then Will would go off on a tangent about how much he hates swans, but but anyway, so yeah, I listened to Foo Fighters for a long time. I had an old iPod Shuffle. Like you seen an iPod Shuffle before? Like 1 inch by 1 inch, tiny little thing. And the funny thing about it is because it was so small, it had no interface or anything. You could basically only have it on shuffle and click the skip button. And so I would want to get to songs on there, probably like a 60, 70 songs on there. I would just keep skipping through. And the whole playlist was made by my dad as well. He put just some of his old iTunes songs on there and gave it to me, and I would go on runs and listen to music. Eventually, it wasn't really until late 2021 that everything kind of kicked off, and that was when my drum teacher, which I played drums. I'd been playing them for, at that point, probably 3 years. My drum teacher shows me a song by a band called Tool, and the song is called Invincible, and it is from the underrated, absolute gem, my favorite album of all time, Fear Inoculum from 2017. The song being Invincible. It took me 9 months to learn. But across those 9 months, I became like a much better musician, and I also just was like, alright, I didn't know music like this existed. This is really awesome. And so I haphazardly stumbled through their discography. I say that like I maybe didn't listen to albums in one sitting all the time. I also had explicit filter on, so there would be gaps. And there were also, I think I may have, when listening to 10,000 Days, been like, with some of the songs like, this is boring, skip. So, like, it really wasn't the full experience that I, make sure that I get every day. Now I'm like, I can't listen to this 8-hour live album across multiple sittings. What am I going to do? But yeah.
I have no idea what live album you're talking about.
So, for a while it was just lots and lots of Tool music. And they remain my favorite band. They're the only band that I've given more than one album from a 10 out of 10. In fact, I've given 4 of their albums a 10 out of 10. Out of 5 of their albums. You could say I'm a D1 Tool glazer. But
sure can.
But after a while, it listening to only one band for long enough just kind of got boring. And so I decided to, when I went and worked out, I would go listen to an album. And so I'd been listening to some albums before then, but not super intentionally or anything, not going at full discographies or anything. It kind of really started in January of 2024 when I went on a workout and listened to, drumroll please, Toxicity by System of a Down, which was a great choice. It's grown on me a lot, even though I did like it at the time. At the time I was kind of like, it's interesting, and I did like some of it, but it's, like, ridiculous. And now I accept that that's, like, what makes it so amazing of an album. Yeah. It's probably a top 15, top 20 of all time for me. Where exactly is it? I've got my handy ranking of every album I've listened to ranked. which is...
I have it on the other screen.
It's number 14. 14th album of all time for me. Out of...
Which is...
507. So, no small feat. And...
I promise, Sam, I'm never going to make a 1,700 song album list.
I know you're not.
I listen to ranked. And I feel like you're going to get to a point eventually where I'm like, I can't hold this up.
I'm already feeling like I get to that point, not because the playlist or the list itself is getting so long, but because I'm just making new lists constantly. Like when I listen to an album, I gotta update the artist ranking if they have enough albums to release or to merit an artist ranking. My every album ranked by release dates. Lots of special case ones like live albums or best and worst album of every year, or soundtracks or longest albums I've listened to. Like, there are so many boxes to check. I had to make a whole document with all the...
It becomes like a job at some point. You never want to become that.
Like, it takes half the listening of the album to update all the things. And now I've been trying to keep it up on Rate Your Music as well, which is a whole other thing. But none of the lists. None of the lists.
I need to find your Rate Your Music account because I'm very curious about it. I go to Rate Your Music a lot for like actual opinions. Yes. Music Core can be like 0.5 for folklore. It's like, or for Dream Theater.
But it wasn't until later down the line in the summer when I met Clark and I realized, or he introduced me to Music Board, and he also just kind of got me into doing full discographies. He didn't even like coax me into it or anything. I just kind of saw it and I was like, that'd be kind of fun. And so I finished off the two Bring Me the Horizon, System of a Down albums that I hadn't done yet. And I was like, I really like Fragile and Close to the Edge. I guess I'll listen to the Yes album. That one seems pretty famous. Maybe I'll listen to their first two albums as well. I am still on the Yes discography. I have not finished it yet.
Some discographies you forget.
Yeah. Or just don't really want to continue because they...
But you kind of have to.
But you kind of have to.
Be for nothing.
But yeah, so similar to Clark, I now find on certain days I'll listen to 5, maybe 6 albums, which may seem excessive, and it kind of is, but at the same time, if you think about just all the other things I could be spending with that time, plenty of people spend that much time a day, like, playing games, which that used to be me. I don't do nearly as many video games, and most of the time it's like I said, I'll work out, listen to an album. I'll go on a walk, listen to an album. I'll do homework and listen to usually some less intensive stuff, like maybe some ambient or instrumental.
That's what I started doing when I would read, like, when I was reading Scott Pilgrim, I had some ambient albums in the back. And just, not like you should be listening to music while reading, because that could, like, overload the senses. Mm-hmm. But just something nice and calm. That's where you get Disintegration loops by William Belansky, who makes, like, gets, like, one loop and turns it into, like, a 2.5 hour album. I can't regret doing that.
Yeah, I keep seeing you reviewing, like, super obscure ambient albums.
Yeah, also sometimes I'll just come across an artist that has, like, 2 albums and I'll be like, let's knock this out in a day or 2.
Yeah.
That's where you get stuff like Fever Ray and, like... See, I don't even remember some of these. These are great. And, like I found this one it was just called Jane, and I only had 1 album. I was like, must be this underground artist. But really, Jane is like a 70s band that made a lot more albums, but Spotify only decided to put the 1 album on there.
Oh, I hate that. I hate when that...
And Music Board doesn't have the rest of the albums either. It just has that 1. So I'm like, dang, that's tough.
Yeah.
Well.
It is interesting, like, just now when I'm getting into, like, really, just a, what's the word I'm looking for? Just, like, a 100%, like, pure discographies, like, no stones unturned, sort of things, like, making spreadsheets to make sure I don't miss anything, like, now that you've got, like I'm going through Aphex Twin, who, on the surface, you could say he has 6 albums.
Said that.
But
I'm planning on redoing all that to get the 300 EPs.
yeah, but really he has 10 albums and 41 EPs, which that's not really an exact number. Several of those I left out that were like sold only at his live shows, and then I'll do the music from the Merch Desk compilation album. So again, very complicated stuff. A bunch of it isn't on Spotify. He also has used like 12 different aliases. It's ridiculous. You don't need that many names. Like, let me pull up my my spreadsheet of confusing discographies. You've got.
But yeah, I've seen that. I like that. I like that list.
You've got under Aphex Twin, 6 albums and 14 EPs. Under Caustic Window, 1 album and 4 EPs. Under AFX, 0 albums and 18 EPs. Under Polygon Window, 1 album and 1 EP. Under Bradley Strider, 0 albums and 2 EPs. Under GAC, 0 albums and 1 EP. Under Mike and Rich, which is technically a collaborative project between him and Uzik, he's got an album and 0 EPs. Then for the Tuss, he's got 1 album and 1 EP. Keep in mind that for like so many of these, none of it is on Spotify. Like, you cannot find the Tuss on Spotify anywhere. You cannot find Bradley Strider on Spotify anywhere. You cannot find Caustic Window on Spotify anywhere. That's why Rate Your Music has become also so
That's
so
what I
nice.
always use, dude.
Because, like, sure, it'll miss some of the smaller bands that, like, Music Board is able to catch because it does, like, all music that's on streaming. It also just has, like, the manual, like, actually accessing real, reliable music databases, which is definitely not something I take for granted.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, member of and related artists are like 2 of the greatest tools on that website.
Yeah.
Because it tells you everything.
Like, yeah, with Aphex Twin, you go on there and you'll just see, like, an entire paragraph of, also known as, it's ridiculous.
Also known as Funk Boy on Dope. Funny Boy, whatever.
It's wild. Jeez, what else? What stones have we not left? What stones have we not turned over yet? This episode. What do we gotta say?
The lore.
The lore.
Let's see. Whenever I was telling my story, I definitely left out the part about woodlands and you and I meeting and all that crap. Which I don't even know how that conversation got brought up.
I do. I remember.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. At the time, even though I had started listening to other albums, I was still obsessed with Tool. Like, that's kind of what I brought up to most people. And we're just randomly doing cabin cleanup, and I, like, was somehow, like, maybe heard you say something about music, and I was like, oh yeah, have you heard of Tool before? And you were like, yeah, and I was so surprised. Like, I was flabbergasted by the fact that you knew
Did I ever tell you how I knew about Tool?
No.
Of course there was, I learned from, like, Fantano and Music Board and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But the thing that really brought my attention was there was this, like, Reddit story, and it was this guy who was like, all right, y'all, I've come to a big dilemma. So, Tool is having a concert in my area, which I've been waiting for 4 years to go to. The one problem is my kid is being born on that same day. And I told my wife I might have to miss out on it to make it to the Tool concert. I don't know why she's mad. And I heard a similar story. It was like that, but like Travis Scott in a wedding. So like this happens to people, and I feel like Sam might cancel his child being born in order to go watch Tool.
Well, I don't know about going to watch Tool, but like, if I got to go see one of those King Gizzard live like marathon shows, you know, I might.
My gosh, one of like the 3-hour shows. Dude.
Yeah, I'd have to. I'm sure she'd understand, you know.
You'd be like, honey, get out of here. You can meet him later.
But yeah, so I asked you, do you know Tool? You say yeah, and I was so surprised because like at the time, even though I knew more about music than most people, and I listened to albums more than most people, like maybe once every week or two. But like I was still under the impression that Tool was obscure, which they're not necessarily a household name, but they've got like 4.5 million monthly listeners. They're on a lot of those.
Schism enjoyers.
Yeah, they're on a lot of those big like lists, and you know, I've realized over time they are not some small little indie band or something like that. But so yeah, then we just sort of started talking. I was like, hey, do you know Tool? And you were like, yeah. I was like, oh, really? That's awesome. And you were like, hey, do you know Daughters? You ever heard of Swans? How about Slint? And I had heard of Slint, to be fair.
So you actually brought
yeah, no, yeah, we
like,
bonded.
My least favorite album. I don't know if you've heard of it. Spiderland. I'm like, you don't like Spiderland? It's like, I re-listened to it. I'm like, okay, I would probably never listen to this if it wasn't a top 100 album on Rate Your Music.
That is... I guess I did call that my least favorite album at some point.
But you didn't... It's not even like the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it's really not. It's
just... You just don't understand it. Like,
yeah.
I still don't understand why people are grabbing onto it.
Yeah.
Like an audiobook with some post-rock chords in the background.
I mean, the thing is, like... And we'll probably tap on this later in deeper... some other time, but like even if I was big on the spoken word, I can't hear it because it's mixed so poorly. You can't hear what he's saying over the instrumentals. Like,
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we like we are now. We kind of bonded over the our collective disappointment in Spiderland. And
yeah.
I think I brought it up because I remember we were like sitting in the shallow area of the lake at Camp Woodlands, and I was like, "This is like the album cover."
It looked like the Spiderland cover. It looked like the Spiderland cover. We were literally there.
We were just sticking our heads out, you know. So
talking about how crap it was.
But so yeah, then I like we came to an end. We kind of just talked to each other about music throughout the week when we got bored, and we exchanged numbers. He got me on Music Board, and if you had told me that like we'd still be close, even though we haven't even like seen each other in person since then, like I would have been a little bit flabbergasted. You know, I would have.
Yeah, like how does that happen?
How does that happen?
I've had many like Woodlands like group chats that have just died after.
Yeah.
No one is keeping up with those.
Yeah, everybody tries to make the Woodlands cabin stay together, but it never really does. Now does it?
There's a lot that you don't think about the staying power of Tool and King Gizzard on a relationship. It just makes people like this.
Yeah, and then
I'm thankful for that a lot because I've had plenty of friends at Woodlands where I'm just kind of like, man, if we just lived close to each other or just kept talking, then like we would have vibed. Mm-hmm. Now I got bro here.
I've got bro.
I'm like, all right, I'm all good.
Yeah.
No one else talks about music, so I'm like, okay.
I mean, like I try to bring in my like close in-person friends into these rabbit holes, and some of them are more into music than others. Like I'm going to see Metallica in concert with some of my friends, and ranging from a guy who was trying to convince me that Metallica was not metal to a guy who does actually listen to some albums and have a few rankings, and is, open to listening to some different varieties of stuff. But like when I start just getting on my rants, bring up these names that my friends have heard all too many times, it's like, oh no, get him out of here, he's going off again.
He does this in text too, like it's a conversation. I'll just be like, hey man, I'm like, Val Kilmer just died, and he'll be like, Val Kilmer was a big fan of Tool back in the day, which is great because Tool has a lot of great albums, and he'll just keep going.
Yeah.
So R.I.P. Val Kilmer died.
One thing that I'm surprised I haven't done it this episode, that I do just way too often, that makes my family so annoyed, is they'll say something and I'll say that thing, like the album, like if my brother was like really just about to lose it and he said, I'm so close to the edge right now, and I would just be like, close to the edge? Like the 1971 like 1972 progressive rock album by English band Yes? And then just get like, I don't know, whipped across the face.
I do that with my friends, but like to a lesser extent. And usually it's stuff they'd know about too. Like we'll be talking about, we're about to graduate, we have to go to graduation. I'm like, graduation?
Yeah, but
sometimes the artist who made Bully.
Sometimes I'll do it just like when it's the most common things ever. Like my friend will say "you," and I'll be like, "You?" Like the song by Radiohead, or "I," like the EP by Meshuggah.
Both names of songs off of TPAB, which he just listened to, and he should probably start using.
Oh, that's true. They are both also from TPAB.
Oh, I've been meaning to tell you this, Sam. A four-way stop I use very often was just converted into a roundabout. Mm-hmm. And every time I go on that roundabout, what's bumping in my head. Sometimes I have to put it on in the car because I just can't get it out. I'm like, all right, let's play it. I'll be roundabout. And we have to play it.
I gotta re-listen to Fragile. It's been a long time since I've listened to Fragile. I don't really remember how well it stands up against some of their other stuff.
I think some of the deeper cuts on that one are great. Yeah. Like, I remember some choruses and lines from that album that are just like, man, y'all really just... Y'all had something special, man. Mm-hmm. And we had to go...
Keyword had. Yeah, it is... were they the first ones to do the whole, 4 songs, 2 LP sort of thing? With, Tales from Topographic Oceans?
You mean like a song per side?
Yeah.
Probably. It's just a shame they weren't very good.
Yeah. Because I've seen it done...
We always say they trying to be Godspeed for real. Like, Godspeed knows how to do that. They know how to keep your attention.
Yeah, if we really wanted to, we could both grab our Lift Your Skinny Fist Like Antennas to Heaven vinyls and show them at the camera.
That's a fun idea. That's a fun idea, bro. Every day we bring a random vinyl we have to the podcast just to show it off and have some fun. You can show your big doohickey Fear Inoculum one that has like the star chart on the back or whatever the frick that is. I don't even know.
Yeah, the whole
just still cool
gatefold thing. It's I've been just wanting to get even more Swans vinyls because they like always come with a poster, which is just not something that it's something that not enough vinyls.
It's like the same. It's like the same size poster too.
Yeah,
like it's the same layout, but it's just different albums. Still sad I didn't get a 1 for 2 Be Kind though, because I ordered it off of eBay.
I use the, like, there's a poster that has like the 6 baby faces. I use those all the time for my honest reactions. Like, somebody will just say, like, guys, I just bombed my test, and I'll just put the crying baby face.
What a dork. Do you think, like, people talk about you like, hey, have you ever talked to Sam and he just sends you a baby face? Like, what's up with that?
No, probably. I'm in too deep. You're in too deep when you're, like, finding albums on YouTube with, like, 3,000 plays because they're because they're part of, like, a massive discography that has, like, an important release,
Yeah, that's some kid online's like, I gotta listen to it. It's only gonna be 49 instead of 50.
It's like you listening to every Third Eye Blind album. Meanwhile, the Third Eye Blind fans are like, they have more than one album? What?
Yeah. Wait, like, Semi-Charmed Life, wait, more? They made more? Which is I actually asked my friend who asked me to listen to that album, that friend, she had me listen to the album, and I was like, okay, it's good, and I kept listening to it. She was like, oh, well, I didn't know you would keep listening to it. I don't listen to all that stuff. She's also the same one who made me do the in-depth review of Vessel by 21 Pilots, and I made her listen to OK Computer, and she got like 4 songs in over the course of 3 days and said, I can't do it. Whereas the first day of the challenge, I had a full song-by-song review of Vessel written, and I put it on Music Board, and I showed it to her, and she was like, why you gotta be so mean? It's a good album, man. It's Tyler and the Gang. They're making some good music. Like, yeah, it's on Trench, it's on Clancy, it's not on Vessel.
Honestly, I can't, no comment from me. I haven't delved deep into the 21 Pilots.
It starts off like crap.
That's what I've heard from some, and not from others, but I mean, I'll have to see.
Yeah, some people, the Blurryface fans are what trip people up, because Blurryface is really rocky, but people go right and stressed out, and they're like, yeah, this album's heat. And then some of them are like ukulele songs. I'm like, no. I mean, I know 21 Pilots genre blending is their thing, but like, sometimes they don't blend very good.
Yeah.
Vampire Weekend's better at genre blending, by the way.
Haven't listened to them yet. Honestly, like, you're the only person that I have heard talk about that band, which is weird because they have a decent sized following. Like,
yeah, and they're, especially like their debut songs they're very commonly used in like TikToks and stuff I see. I'm like, okay, people use it. Like, also their newest album was freaking incredible.
Yeah.
So these conversations always go, by the way, this album is incredible. You should listen to it.
I guess my most recent "This album is incredible and you should listen to it" would be what would that be? Let me check. Let me go history real quick.
Was it Have a Nice Life? Was it Have a Nice Life?
It may have been. But if we're talking
because
like,
I had that.
If we're talking most recent,
I was going to listen to that, but then you were like, dude, you gotta listen to Death Consciousness, man. It's up there. I was like, okay. I listened to it, and I was like, okay, you're right.
Most recent 9 out of 10 or above first time listen, it was Death Consciousness.
Yeah.
Like that was
listened to like the next day, and
I listened to 4 days later because I couldn't get it out of my head. That was exactly 1 month ago that I gave my last first time listen a 9 out of 10 or above, and that's separated by like 3 pages of albums that I've reviewed. So like I am not like the average Music Board listener, like, oh my gosh, any album that's okay is a 10 out of 10.
My last one was Lonely People with Power by Death Heaven, which I told Sam this might be front runner for album of the year so far. That thing is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
maybe better than Sunbather, but like Sunbather is too much of a classic in my eyes. I can't push myself to think anything otherwise yet.
It's funny because I actually I started listening to shoegaze, and I was like, all right, I'll listen to some shoegaze, and then I'll listen to some black metal, and then I'll listen to Deafhaven, right? You know, because it's a genre blend between the two. And so I listened to some shoegaze, and then I listened to some more shoegaze, and then I listened to some more shoegaze, and then I listened to some more shoegaze. So I never really got to the black metal part.
You can always switch. You can always throw a few black metal artists in there.
Yeah, well, I've got a whole page of discographies in progress that I just gotta get through, you know?
I have an entire document of... Okay, I think I've talked to you about the document before. It's just called Gorillaz because that's the first artist I ever listened to all the way. And basically, if you look here, ever show up, you can't see anything. Here, let's try again.
There we go.
Okay, you can see the names, right? These are all the names of the discographies I've listened to. And these ones right here are the ones I'm listening to in progress. And with some list of each of those discographies, like I think this one right here, that looks like Car Seat Headrest. One of these is Elliott Smith. I don't know what is that one? Oh, it's Earth. The one where Sam was like, why are you listening to them? And then this side are all the artists I've been meaning to listen to.
Oh my god.
This goes on for a few pages.
Okay, that is why that's why I use Music Board's Listen Later. It's so much more convenient.
I know. But I know if I use that, I'm never going to touch it again. It's kind of like the watch list on Letterboxd. You're never going to go in there again.
That's the thing, though. I know Will with Letterboxd will, really pay attention to his watch list. Only watches movies that are on his watch list, which is 900 movies. And he tries to keep his watch list to a certain length, and he, updates in all his reviews, what he's added to his watch list, and
I always see that. I'm like, how long do you spend on this app, dude? It's I probably like that on Music Board, but who cares?
But anyway, yeah, I gotta head off to my work at AMC Theaters soon, so I think this is a pretty random place to cut it off, but we've rambled on long enough.
I think we've given them a good idea of what this is like. We'll try and talk about something, and we'll just start going whatever way we would like to. And somehow still end up what we were talking about.
I did. Yeah, I had the intro, and I had one question, and we built off of that. So that's
good job. We've done good.
We done did it. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Whoever may be listening out there, whether you're a random friend of mine, or a random friend of Clark's, or a person who actually just likes listening to commentary about music, thank you a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Have a good rest of your day.